Apex trader funding is officially in full damage control right now. Some traders are suddenly blocked from buying new evals, and nobody saw it coming. Traders are confused, affiliates are asking questions, and Apex Trader Funding co-founder John Skelton just dropped a video trying to clear it all up. I've watched it all, and in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what he said and what it means for traders moving forward. Let's dive right into it.
Hey guys, John with Apex here. Kind of a quick informal video here. I was asked by some of the Apex affiliates and influencers just to make a quick video for you guys, help you understand and answer questions in your rooms and groups that people would be having about why some users are not able to add on more evaluation simulated accounts right now. Could be several reasons why users aren't able to add on more. Right now, we don't have single formulas or a fixed set of metrics for that. We don't have caps set in place right now. A lot of companies do. We don't have that. We might here in the near future. And lay out some, detailed paths to live. But anyway, look, you guys know there's a huge shift in the industry with just about every firm out there now creating paths to live funding. Not only should every trader want that as well to ultimately be put in a live account, but firms have to do this as well, just for it's necessary for health and longevity of any firm. Only so much can be paid out of SIM accounts, and everybody understands that. Before it has an effect on sustainability or forces firms to change programs or restructure programs, tighten up payout policies. We've all seen that go.
So I think what he just mentioned is very key. He mentioned every prop firm out there right now is rolling out this path to live funding, but he tied it to sustainability. The whole concept of, prop firms that are promoting, we are looking and actively searching for those profitable traders, those talented traders in our sim funded environment so that we can push them to live trading. That's nonsense. This whole concept of path to live funding is something very recent we've been hearing across all prop firms, not just Apex. But I'm glad that John acknowledged and is tying it to sustainability. This is really a way to limit their payout exposure with profitable sim-funded traders. This is not part of what a prop firm was designed or how their business model works. I want to make sure everyone's clear that prop firms are not interested, have not been interested in the past in finding live funded traders from their sim-funded environment. As much as you hear other prop firms talk about it and the dangling of the carrot, the live funded program, don't be fooled by that. No prop firm in the past has been interested or actively looking for that profitable trader from the sim funded environment. It is now a way to limit payout exposure from the sim funded environment. And we'll talk about why.
Going on for months now, especially just in the last few weeks here, certain firms changing and adding rules every week. Apex has offered, we've actually had live funding options for a few years now, since early 2022. We have moved traders out of sim and onto live, but honestly, not that many. There hasn't been a whole lot. Why? Some traders that we've offered it to have elected to, let's say they've been with us a while, they were at 100% payout level, they opted to just take the whole payout, go open their own live account instead of trading with us. But to be candid, to be honest, we've had the option, but it wasn't a big focus of Apex. It wasn't a big priority or focus to move people over.
I'm glad John acknowledged that. He just said that. It has not been a focus for Apex to move profitable traders from their sim-funded environment to a live trading environment. And that's the truth across all prop firms. This is something very recent. Everyone's dangling that carrot of the live funded program. because sustainability is becoming an issue. There are other reasons, we'll talk about it as we watch this video, but one of the main reasons is market share. You have a lot of new prop firms in this space. They're all offering new futures prop firm accounts. They have easy rules. They have better pricing, and market share between prop firms is shrinking. I mentioned this in my last video. I don't want to repeat the same information, but back to 2023, Topstep, that's all I bought in 2023, at least for the beginning of 2023, for the first 3 or 6 months. Fast forward to this year, 2025, Topstep is lucky if they get 1 or 2 evals from me every 3 to 6 months. Why? Because I'm diversified across multiple prop firms. Every trader right now is diversified. So prop firms have less market share right now.
Even though we had it, we were focused on our growth and staffing up for that and keeping up with payouts. And, it was something we did when, traders got to a certain level or a certain amount of payouts or larger accounts that, we'd offer that or pay it out. It was just wasn't a focus to build out that whole department and have people monitoring that and tracking that and moving people over and doing the paperwork and the regulatory, paperwork to get them over to the regulated broker. And, it's a whole process. But that's all changing now, as you know. And the prop industry in general has changed. And we all have to change with it. Everything's changed. The programs have gotten easier. The payouts have gotten faster. They've gotten more accessible. I can remember back when evaluations were 2 weeks, 14 days. Now you can pass an evaluation in a day. Or I remember when a trader had to trade 25 days just to get their first payout. And there was only this one little period every month. Now we've got payouts everywhere from, 1 day to 5 days to 8 days and, multiple payouts every month, multiple accounts, easier rule.
He's actually right about that. But the reason for all these rule changes or making it easier and more attractive to traders to buy an account from prop firm, it's because of all the new prop firms emerging in the future space. Every prop firm right now is trying to compete with each other, outcompete the other one. So what do they have to do? Easier rules, 1 day pass, 90% discounts, payouts within an hour, payouts within a day, no payout windows. Every prop firm is trying to roll out the new way of attracting more traders because they're all after market share. The problem is there's a lot of new prop firms. And honestly, what he just mentioned, the rules have been, easier to get a payout, less time to get a payout. They've done it on themselves, trying to outcompete each other. So I'm glad that he's tying the live funded program that everybody, by the way, it's not just Apex. I'm glad that John is publicly talking about this, but every prop firm right now is going through this. They're all talking about the live funded program, but it is a way to manage long-term sustainability. As the market share decreases for each prop firm, depending on the statistic that you look at, if 95% of your traders are going to lose, in other words, we know the prop firm business model is based on failure. I've said this multiple times. Prop firms are designed, their business model, their success is based on failure. That means traders buying accounts, blowing those accounts so that they can either reset or rebuy and keep that cycle going. So they have to manage the pool of the failed traders, the traders that bring in the revenue, right, to pay the profitable traders. So when you hear a $2 million payout, a $1 million payout, $600,000 payout, $50,000 payout, $20,000 payout, where do you think that payout money is coming from? From us, from you, the trader, right? We know that the statistic is 95 to 99% of traders fail. That revenue from buying accounts, resetting accounts, rebuying accounts, that's the revenue that pays profitable traders. That's how a prop firm works, period. I know I've gotten heat for saying this in the past, but that is the reality. You, the failed trader, pays the profitable trader. Whether you want to call it a pyramid scheme or whatever you want to call it, that's how it works. The more failed traders, the more traders that come in, buy accounts, blow accounts, rebuy and reset, the more revenue available to pay out. But don't for a minute think, and he's said it now a couple of times in this, think that a prop firm is out there actively searching for profitable traders to move them to a live funded program so that they can grow with this profitable trader. This concept of path to live funding is designed now to limit payout exposure with profitable traders, period. If you think that prop firms are actively searching for profitable traders for the live funded program, let me tell you something. Let me shatter these dreams for you. It is much easier for a prop firm to simply hire a recruiter, put an ad on LinkedIn, and hire professional traders. But they're called prop firms for a reason. If they were really looking for professional traders and profitable traders, they would be called a hedge fund, a trading firm, a trading desk. They're not. They're called prop firms for a reason. Their business model relies on failure. Revenue that comes in from the buying accounts, resetting, rebuying accounts pays the profitable trader, period. And I know I've gotten heat from this, but do not think that, and you just heard it from John, that a prop firm's goal is to find live funded traders out there and grow that way. It's not. It has not been. That has not been the business model for any of these prop firms. They've dangled that carrot. They've done a nice job dangling that carrot, but it's not. Your ultimate goal as a trader should always be to move to a live funded account, your personal live funded account. Why do you think, and he mentioned this, that a lot of these profitable traders have reached, $2 million payouts, $1 million payout, whatever you want to call it? They don't necessarily move to the live funded program with Apex, and we'll talk about the reasons why, and not just Apex, most prop firms. They kind of just move that money to their own personal funded account and trade it on their own. Why do you think that? We'll talk about that as we continue to watch this video.
So the industry's changed to where there's a lot more potentially to be paid out of some accounts. And of course, with regulation, coming, we all know that that's going to be a big part of regulation, is wanting to see that traders are not sitting in sim accounts forever. Traders are not getting paid out of sim accounts forever. That's a certain period of time, and then they're moved over to live. They want to see that, our industry is contributing to the industry in general, helping the market, providing liquidity. You guys know.
He's talking about the regulation coming into the futures prop firm space. And the rumor or the talking points about this regulation is revenue that comes into prop firms cannot be 100% based on the failure that we talk about. A futures prop firm, right now, their main revenue is from traders coming in to buy accounts, reset those accounts when they blow them, or rebuy those accounts when they blow them. That is 100% of the revenue coming in to the majority of prop firms right now. The regulation, or potential regulation, because let's be fair, we've been hearing about this regulation coming into the futures prop firm space for over a year now. It's not, I haven't seen anything coming yet, but let's assume it is coming. The rumor is, if you want to exist as a futures prop firm, your revenue cannot rely on failure. It cannot be based on that pyramid. Failure pays those 1% or 2% of your profitable traders. What we're hearing in terms of potential regulation is that prop firms are going to be required to have revenue coming in from live funded traders. It cannot just rely on the traders failing, buying, resetting, and that cycle. They have to have a certain amount or a certain percentage of revenue coming in from live funded traders. Whether that regulation comes in or not, we don't know. We've been hearing this for a year now. It's not. Meanwhile, though, during this time, all of the prop firms are setting up their path to live funded program, but they're also making sure that they are limiting their payout exposure through this so-called regulations that are coming. It's been genius for prop firms to do this. We've heard payout caps, right? Prop firms say, hey, you can come in, but your max payout with us is this amount. And after that amount, you move to a live funded account. Why? Because it's going to have tighter rules, right? Now you're going to have to earn your own income, and it's going to be a lot less than what you earn through the sim funded program. Again, that limits the payout exposure for each prop firm.
all this stuff. So again, sim-funded accounts are exactly that. They're simulated. They're not backed by real capital. And payouts from these accounts at some point, have to be moved over to coming out of a live account. There's only so much that a firm can sustain by paying out of simulated accounts, but at the same time, keep their costs down, keep their programs attractive, accessible, and good pricing. So purpose of evals, purpose of PAs is, simply to the process of identifying traders that have developed a system with defined rules and discipline and consistency and risk management, and can grow and manage and compound and protect an account.
I don't agree with what he just said. It's a contradiction. In other words, what he just said was that the EVAL program was always intended to identify traders with a proven profitable record because they have a system, set goals, set targets, set risk. I'm not buying that just yet. I think the regulation, right, potential regulation that's coming, yes, the live funded program is being rolled out, but by all prop firms, and if it's truly going to become a percentage of revenue has to come from live funded, well, that's now going to be the focus, right? Now, moving forward, Apex and other prop firms will have to find profitable traders, move them to live, and make sure that a certain amount of your revenue comes from that live funded trader. That's now. Before this whole talk of regulation, that was never the path. In other words, prop firms were not actively looking for profitable traders to move them to live, and he acknowledged this. That has never been the focus for Apex. You got to look at it. You got to look at it this way. A prop firm is called a prop firm for a reason. If they were all looking for professional traders, again, hire a recruiter, hire the best talent, and now you can call yourself a hedge fund, Topstep hedge fund, Apex trading desk. You're an investment firm, you're a trading firm, you are a hedge fund. They've chosen the prop firm route for a reason. But that payout structure is always, or has always been, based on your failed traders paying that top 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever that is, based on the revenue coming in from buying accounts, blowing accounts, rebuying and resetting to pay the profitable trader.
Not just simply working through or even taking advantage of or gaming the sim environment or cheap, price entry points to just blow and go and pop, here's a big withdrawal, blow and go, oh, made it up. At some point, keep and grow accounts and show that they can build capital, because that's what's needed in order to put someone behind a live, live funded account with real money. So, some traders, at some point, traders have to be moved off the sim environment. Some traders might not move out of a sim environment until they've spent months in the program. And maybe they've cycled through hundreds of accounts, and maybe they've taken many payouts along the way. Others may come in and just have had one account or a couple of accounts, and they've shown strong risk management. There's not a lot of ups and downs in their account. There's not huge windfall days and then huge loss days. They're just a steady equity curve. They're doing things right. They're not going max contracts. They're not blowing accounts. They're not over risking. They're just slowly compounding.
Apex and all prop firms are going to have a big challenge right now, because we know it's been very profitable for traders to pass accounts, get some nice payouts, blow, pass accounts, get some nice payouts, blow evals. I mean, we've seen some of the top influencers or YouTubers for Apex and other prop firms publicly acknowledge, right? They've gone through 400, 500 PAs to get a $600,000, $1 million payout. They've gone through hundreds of PAs. That means they've gotten payouts, burned them, gotten payouts, burned them, evals. So it's a consistent cycle. So if your top influencers and YouTubers have planted that seed, that is the process of gaming the prop firm industry, well, how are you now going to go back and say, well, we're looking for that profitable trader with a set strategy? I mean, I think all CEOs that have gone on YouTube or other YouTube channels, they've all publicly acknowledged most funded accounts, in other words, once you pass from an eval stage or a testing phase to the funded stage, at most they get one payout and they blow that account within 30, 60 days. So there's very few traders out there getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 payouts on the same account. And this includes the top payouts that we've been hearing this year, right? $2 million payouts, $1 million payouts, $600,000 payouts. We've known, and this is public knowledge out there, that those payouts came from multiple blown accounts over, I don't know, 6 months, a year, or years. So how do you move, how do you now transition to a live funded program, right? When the majority of your trading pool has gotten payouts based on a burn and turn system. Again, going back to the difference between a prop firm, a hedge fund, a trading firm, whatever you want to call it, right? If they were really interested in live funded traders, hire a recruiter, go out and get the top talent, and now you got professional traders.
Building, following their rules, even if just a couple of accounts, and built those accounts up. And no, they might not have had hundreds of accounts. They might have never even had 20 accounts. They might have been trading just a couple of accounts for the last 3 months and got them up to 15, 20 grand each, just doing it slow. Might not have only taken but a couple of payouts. Some of them haven't even taken a payout yet. They're just building the balance in there, building a cushion. And that just kind of shows you even more that they're trying to do things right for the long term. So a history of payouts does not automatically qualify someone for live trading. Some traders have had large payouts or they've had a lot of frequent payouts, but they've done so by churning through accounts or turning and burning accounts. Just taking a payout, blowing an account, replacing it constantly, 10, 20, 30 new evals every week and 10, 15 new PAs every week, just going through, and then they happen to get payouts out of that. That's churning the system. And that kind of rinse and repeat strategy involves, windfalls and high risk, and that doesn't demonstrate the ability to long-term manage an account. And so someone like that, no, Apex might not move them over to a live account. They're clearly not ready for that, even if they're.
What he just said is fair. And I know I've gotten heat for saying this in the past, but listen, at the end of the day, you are being paid to paper trade. Your payouts, all these payouts we hear about, 600,000, 1 million, 2 million, 40,000. Listen, I've gotten $40,000 payouts on 20 accounts through Apex. I and other traders were paid to paper trade. Listen, I've been very grateful for prop firms. I've gotten well over 6 figures in the last year alone, last 12 months, through prop firms, not just Apex, multiple prop firms. But I'm very aware that I've gotten these payouts for paper trading. It's insane. But I'm also very aware it's their house, their rules. And I think all traders have to figure this out instead of complaining and everything that we hear out there. You got to understand, you're being paid to paper trade. It's their house, their rules. You simply got to adjust as these changes happen. And again, it's not just Apex changing the rules. We've had multiple prop firms. I don't think there's one prop firm. You guys can actually quote me on this. There is not one futures prop firm in the last year, the last 12 months, that has not changed their payout rules or rules in general, period.
They've had a large payout. Some people have said, Apex has had this payout or this large payout, but they didn't move the person or offer them to live. Well, and that's not the case with every one of them, but, that could be part of the reason there. From the prop firm's perspective, it's challenging to assess who is ready for live, meaning, this person's had hundreds of accounts and bunches of payouts. Why? Well, are they using the system, kind of cheating the system and just blowing and going? Or are they someone like, I'll admit, it was me as well back, before Apex, and we were trading prop with other, I blew plenty of accounts. I've blown live accounts, right? Like trading takes time, trading takes skill. So is somebody just working the system blow and go, or is somebody going through it, learning and improving and getting better, and then they've gotten better, and yeah, maybe they've been doing it for a year, maybe they're doing it for months, maybe they've gone through hundreds of accounts, and now they've just improved their strategy or system, and they're learning the skills to be able to manage and compound and keep accounts, and manage and protect an account, as opposed to just constantly needing, tens and 20s and 30s and new evals and new PA to feed that. And that's kind of, the difference there, because, in live trading, there's not a reset button. You can't just go buy another cheap eval and start fresh. It's real money. It's not like a video game of, hey, I blew it on level 3, I'll just start over.
Yeah, he's talking about the gamification of trading with a futures prop firm. The problem with this is, though, all you're seeing right now on social media with all your top payouts, it's the number of PAs or funded accounts that it took to get a $600,000, $1 million, or $2 million payout. It's multiple PAs. We're not hearing about a lot of traders keeping an account 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 payouts. This has become the gamification of trading on a futures prop firm. So now for Apex or any futures trading prop firm to think that they're going to recruit or find these talented traders, I'm not saying they're not, very few, from a pool of traders that has turned into the gamification of futures prop firm trading, it's going to be very difficult for them to figure out who gets a live funded account, who is really more of that burn and turn approach, and at what point are we going to stop them from buying evals? In other words, at that point, your journey with Apex or any prop firm, we're talking about Apex, but they're all going through this. They're all putting payout caps. We've seen other futures prop firms not publicly accept it, but simply, hey, you can't buy new accounts, and they're in the Discord asking, hey, why can't I buy a new account? Why can't I get a new eval or something? And there's crickets. Why? Because they've gotten payouts, and the prop firm has decided, yeah, no, you're either too profitable or, whatever your strategy is, with it, whether it's a burn and turn or you are a consistent profitable trader, you've already hit a lot of payouts with us. You're not buying other accounts. The only difference here is Apex is publicly telling their traders, listen, some of you will not be able to buy evals moving forward, which I think in terms of transparency is huge. I will give credit where credit is due to Apex for that, because there are other prop firms out there that are not publicly accepting or admitting that. They're simply not allowing certain traders to buy new accounts, and they're quietly pushing that under the rug.
And that's a big shift in mindset of somebody that needs to have that shift in mindset to be in a live account of, this is a live account. This is the account. I have to protect this account. I can't just go add evals into it and start over. I have to focus and build an account. And some traders will make that shift very easy and transition into live, or show that, hey, I can take the PA accounts I have now and protect them and manage them and show risk and compound them and build these up and then move over. I don't need to, throw in an 20, 30 accounts new every week just to replace low and go. And that's really the big difference there. Others will shift easily into that, and then go into live accounts with a lot of flexibility. I mean, there's no consistency rules there. You do daily withdrawals. You can scale up over time. There's not maximum amounts. Now, others may not be able to grow and maintain their account and keep an account, which signals they're not ready for live money trading, obviously, right? Now, somebody might not be ready for live money trading because they, are going through accounts. And again, that doesn't all mean bad. It doesn't all mean there's abuse. Some of it's just, hey, still learning, still improving. We've all been there. But, there's also a point where traders cannot remain in a simulated environment, and definitely taking payouts out of the sim environment without a clear, strategy or system, without a rules-based system. If the approach is simply just to churn and burn sim accounts for windfall payouts, that's not aligned with the purpose of the program. And
I think that's fair. I think the burn and turn accounts approach is coming slowly to an end with Apex and other prop firms. Whether you want to believe it's because of the futures prop firm regulation that's coming in, or market share has shifted just so dramatically right now that the pool of profitable traders really has to be shrunk. In other words, limiting payout exposure. I do think that this whole burn and turn accounts, especially with Apex that allows 5, 10, 15, up to 20 accounts, they're going to have to figure out a way to limit their payout exposure, because we all know that it is extremely profitable to burn and turn accounts when you have that type of leverage. If you have, let's say you have one account and you got it to a payout, you got yourself a $2,000 payout, that's $2,000. That's manageable. When you have 20 accounts that got you a $2,000 payout each, that's $40,000. So you got $40,000 in a payout with the same trades that you got on a one account for $2,000. That's a lot of leverage. Now, let's say you got your $40,000 payout, you blow all those 20 accounts. How much is it really going to cost you to rebuild those 20 accounts? It's very minimal because of the leverage that you just added. Okay, so $40,000 turns into, let's say, a net 35, or let's say a net 30,000. It is still significantly higher than if you had just traded one account that got you that $2,000 payout. You blew it. Now you're down to about $1,000, $1,500 to get yourself back up to a PA or a funded account. So a $2,000 payout versus a $40,000 payout with the same trades on that one account is insanity. I mean, that's insane leverage. Even if you blow those 20 accounts, who cares? You're still net 30, 35,000. That's what a lot of traders have figured out. That's what we've seen with the majority of influencers and the big payouts this year, $2 million payouts, $1 million, whatever you want to call it, big payouts, right? They have all been based on burn and turn approach.
If they can't show that, hey, I don't have to do that, I can focus and keep accounts and grow them, then, we might not be able to move them to live just yet. But we also can't just leave them in SEM, just churning that and, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars every month in payouts without, clear direction there. So, for those that are currently limited from adding in new evaluation, these are some of the factors there that's being reviewed. Some of the people that were limited, it's a mix. Some may be asked to provide additional information, just, hey, explain your strategy, your system, and your rules, and mark up a couple of charts, just showing us that you're actually, trading a system, a rules-based system, and you're working towards.
So he's talking about the emails that have gone out very recently to traders that can no longer buy evals from Apex. Now, we went through this last year as well. I know a lot of personal traders I personally know on a friend basis that can no longer trade with Apex. They received an email last year saying, hey, you can no longer buy an eval from Apex until 2026, 27, or some indefinitely. This time around, we're hearing that the reason they're getting that email is because they're in a testing phase or a probation phase, evaluating them for a live funded program. So we'll see where that goes.
Consistency and intent. Clarify whether the trader is running a rules-based system or simply cycling through accounts, just trying to get, some profits. Other people, it's very clear they're ready to move to live and want to move to live. Just to clarify, some traders have received that email that they wouldn't be able to add on new evaluations have asked, oh, why am I being banned? What did I do wrong? Okay, that's a misconception. No one's being banned, and doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Receiving that notice doesn't mean anything wrong. It means either your payouts or your balances or your performance levels now require a review to determine if it's time to move out of and transition out of sell. As it clearly stated in the email, this doesn't affect any existing evaluations or being able to pass those, turn those into more PAs, doesn't affect trading your PA account or the ability to do withdrawal requests. You still operate your current accounts and convert them. You just can't add in more simulations when you're going through the process of being reviewed to transition out of simulation. Okay, it's not a ban, it's not a probation, it's not a punishment. It's a signal that possibly ready for the next step, or some adjustments need to be made. It's got to be determined. Is your approach based on solely on churning or a rules-based system? And
so it's going to be very interesting how this plays out. The way he's explaining it right now is certain traders got that email. You can't buy any more evals. You're in a testing phase, probation phase, evaluation phase, whatever that means. During this phase, we want to see how you perform with your funded accounts or PAs. So you can't buy evals during that time. Once that evaluation is over, that's where the big question mark right now is. What's going to happen? Is that trader going to be allowed to buy evals if they don't get into the funded stage? Last year, we saw a lot of traders get an email saying you can no longer buy evals, period. In other words, you're not in a testing phase, you're not in a probation phase. You can simply not buy evals from Apex for, I think, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was. What's going to happen this time? Let's say this trader that got this email within the last week or two goes through the testing phase. Apex makes a decision. Yeah, no, you're not ready for live. Are they going to restrict buying evals from there on? Or is that trader going to be allowed to go back into the sim funded program? We just don't know yet. He's presenting it as it could go either way, and you can buy your evals again if you don't make it into the live program. But in the past, again, we're basing this on what happened in the past. Certain traders were simply not allowed to continue in the sim funded program, not being able to buy evals anymore.
If determines on based on churning, then there might be limitations on future accounts or payouts. So there's been a few other questions of what if I blow my account before I move to live? Or what if I go to live and then when I'm in live, I blow the account? Can I come back with Apex and start, or am I just out of luck? Or how can I be considered to get more evals? Okay, those situations will all be determined case by case, but no, it's not Apex's intent to limit anyone's opportunity from becoming a live funded trader and letting them, demonstrate their skill in the simulated environment. However, again, there maybe need to be a limit or a cap on ongoing payouts from simulated accounts or, number of accounts available. Meaning if somebody is, moved to live and, they do end up blowing the live account, is it like, oh, sorry, Apex is done with you? Or can I come back in and start in the sim environment again and get evaluations and turn those into PAs? And in most cases, the answer would be yes, you can. Now, that doesn't mean come in with 20 accounts and blow and go and start just trying to use the sim system for payouts again. It would be, to come back in and take evaluations, prove yourself, fix whatever, issues you felt like you might have had, in live, and get your head straight and get, more time to get the system nailed down. But it doesn't mean, we've all seen this. Other firms have talked about it too, of moving people to live who purposely.
I think that's fair, right? For traders that made it into this live funded program, and let's say they blow an account, or even traders that went through the testing phase or this probation period that we're talking about within the last 2 weeks and don't make it into live, you will have the option of going back into sim funded. And I think at that point, Apex has the right to say, maybe you're only going to be limited to 5 PAs or maybe 1 PA. And not only that, that PA, you can't trade full contract size. You're going to have to prove yourself with 1, 2, maybe 3. I think that's fair. You've already gone through the sim funded phase. You got significant amount of payouts, whether you already had 20 accounts or you got those nice $40,000 payouts. But as they consider you for live and you either make it or don't, does it really make sense for Apex or any prop firm to allow you to come back into their sim funded with the full leverage? In other words, full 20 accounts? At that point, I think it's fair. You've already gotten some nice payouts from us. You can go back to the sim funded stage, but you're only going to be limited to maybe 5 accounts or 1 account. Long-term sustainability for all traders, I think that's a good thing. They can trade, but not have the full leverage that they enjoyed in the past. Not only that, but now they're going to really require all traders, and again, this is not just Apex, this is happening across the board, to really create true trading habits. Doesn't have to be perfect, he's saying that. It could take a trader still a lot of evals, a lot of PAs, but as long as they see, right, some type of strategy, and it could be a failing strategy, that's going to require a lot of traders now to simply figure out what they want from the prop firm world. It looks like from what we're hearing, burn and turns are not going to be an option anymore. You really got to have a set strategy and build your funded accounts, whether it's one or multiple, with a proven strategy. But he's also acknowledged that there will be traders that simply have not proven themselves to be a funded trader yet, a live funded trader, but are not gamblers or windfall traders yet. They just haven't developed their strategy to become profitable. So they're going to be allowed to trade and buy sim funded accounts and continue that program as well. I think that's fair.
Below the live account just so they can go back into sim and do sim payouts. And that's not what it's for. And that's, somebody that blew live, okay, sure, come back. We'll start with only X amount of evals and turn them into PAs. When the PAs hit their trailing threshold or when they get to a predetermined balance, let's move that back over to live and let's get you over there. It's not a way to just stay in sim running through churn accounts or whatever. So, again, that'd be on a case-by-case basis that can be worked out. Here's another big question I've seen that I think is just a big misconception, and it's totally backwards and opposite. Some people have said, hey, I only had a handful of accounts. Why am I being considered already? I haven't had hundreds of accounts. I haven't even had 20 accounts. I have only had a few. Or some, I only have one. Why am I being considered for move? Some will question, why is Apex not waiting until they have multiple accounts? Or, some of these people might have only had just a few payouts or a couple of payouts. How come you're not waiting for them to have tons and tons and tons and tons of payouts before moving them? In fact, a couple of people haven't even taken a payout request yet because they've just been building their account up with a cushion. Why are you moving these people? Well, these are actually the simplest ones to assess because, let's say there's a trader who's only had a couple of accounts and traded them for 3 months, brought the balances up to 15, 20,000, whatever. Again, they're not going in with all contracts. They're not having major swings up and down. They're good risk management, steady growth, compounding, clearly showing. They haven't even, again, they've only had 1, 2, 3 accounts for months now. They've even tried to do 20 accounts in copy trade. They're focused on compounding, protecting, and building an account. That is the perfect person that we would want to put into live money.
In other words, what he's saying is, yeah, and I've seen posts on social media, there's been traders first payout and now placed on probation. So it makes sense. You're trying to set a precedent moving forward, and this whole burn and turn concept is done. We're not going to be planting the seed, or we don't want that seed being planted of bad habits, the burn and turn habit. So he's right. In that sense, anybody who's really hasn't fallen into that trap, don't start with that trap. And for traders that follow that strategy, you got some decisions to make. If you want to continue with Apex, you're going to have to get out of that whole burn and turn mentality, regardless of what you've seen influencers or the big payouts, how that happened. Those days are done. I've even shared this in my community Discord. I've said, listen, Apex, I think those days of the multiple PAs and, gambling your way through those payouts and getting 20 payouts on 20 accounts, I think those are going to be reviewed and taken a look pretty in depth. Those days are coming to an end. So he's right in that sense. For new traders coming in, they don't want them to fall into that bad habit of burn and turn. We're going to evaluate you, and from here on, let's say you do make it, great. If you don't, don't even start with that because you're going to get limited on the amount of evals that you can purchase.
It's easier to actually see that and assess that with someone that's only had a few accounts or even a few payouts or even no payouts, because they're building these balances. Just because they haven't had a ton of payouts or a ton of accounts doesn't mean it's not, time to look at transition out. It's what have they built in those accounts? I mean, put yourself in that same spot. You've got somebody that's only had 3 accounts for however long and slow and steady and not blowing and not windfall and building balance. Let's get them behind real money. Versus, okay, well, this person's had $200,000 of payouts from 2000 here and 2000 here, and they've been through 800 PA account. Are they ready for that? Are they just churning through? Are they actually develop? How do we, right? So some people have looked at it as like a negative or something of, I don't understand why, traders with low payout history or fewer accounts are already being considered. Isn't that limiting them from not being able to at some point just keep taking SIM withdrawal, and go through all these accounts and get account? So far, they haven't showed that they wanted to get all those extra accounts, but it actually is the opposite. It's kind of a skip the line kind of thing for them, especially if they've only had a few accounts or a couple of payouts, or maybe haven't even requested yet. They're just building up this balance because as soon as they go to live, they don't have all these rules or limitations anymore. They don't have restrictions of, only a couple grand for the first 4 payouts. They don't have consistency rules. Once that, balance is moved over to live, then above that, you can take out daily withdrawals, no consistency rule. It's live money. Consistency rules are there to, help protect the SIM environment of people just windfall or gambling. They don't have to wait 8 days. It actually kind of slingshots them past some of that. Also in live, everything is evaluated ongoing based on performance to be able to increase margin and contracts and size and, be able to scale that up just based on performance, not by having to go buy evals and pass tests and pay fees. There's ability there just to grow. So anyway, the payout or the team's already going through, reaching out to members. Some members have already been officially invited to a live prop account and receive paperwork and, getting that going so they can get moved over. Others have already been told, hey, for now, after looking in, keep you in SIM a little longer. Be sure to, follow your rules, follow our rules, blah, blah, blah. Others, have been requested to, explain the strategy system, markets and charts, help us understand that you're actually following the system. So we're moving forward with all that. Be patient as that's happening, but I hope that helps explain a little bit what's going on, or helps you guys as influencers and affiliates be able to answer questions for people.
Listen, the takeaway from all this is that whole burn and turn approach, windfall trading, gambling, those days, I think, are coming to an end at Apex. Now with their live funded program, I really hope we start seeing true live funded traders with Apex. I'm sure we're going to start seeing that social media. I think that's what everybody wants to see. Last year, unfortunately, they mentioned the same thing, and we really didn't see anybody on live funded accounts. It looks like this time, at least from what he just said, certain traders have already gotten the paperwork. We're going to start seeing on social media live funded traders on Apex. And I think that will bring back some confidence for traders out there with Apex. For traders on probation or this evaluation phase to be considered to live funded, or traders that don't make it, I think the messaging there is, listen, you're going to have a strategy. Apex already has the tightest rules, in my opinion, in the futures prop firm space. You're just going to have to figure out a way or make a decision. Are the rules with Apex, is that going to fit the way you trade with Apex Trader Funding? I think overall, if they deliver on this, it's going to be good for everybody. In other words, Although it's great to hear $2 million payouts, $1 million payouts, etc., guess where all that money is coming from? I think a more sustainable model for all traders is less payouts, potential payout caps with Apex before you get moved to a live funded program, or simply, if you don't make it into the live funded program, a more limited sim funded program once you've gone through that test phase.
With regards to what the limitation is there on new evals, of course, you have, every different kind of comment response out there on social media, everything from, oh, this is awesome, this is great, I'm so happy I was invited live, I feel honored. Then you have people upset, then you have people saying, oh, Apex is just, cutting off profitable traders. Okay, well, how do you define a profitable trader? And that's kind of what the point of some of this is, does a truly actual profitable trader need to be throwing in 20 or 30 new evaluation accounts every week and blowing and going through those, and then blowing and going through 5, 10, 15 PA accounts every week and blow and blow and blow? Oh, I may have got to pay out and blow. Okay, that's not profitable trading if it's churning. A couple other things I've heard is, this is, Apex is trying to cut people off and close them out. No one will ever be responded to. No one will be asked for information. No one will be asked for charts or strategy or system. This is just whatever. No, that's not the case either. I know there was a time last year at some point where there was some groups of people that were put on blocks from new evaluations as well. And I have addressed that before, that was not handled or communicated well. But that was also a very different situation. If you remember, those groups of people that were put on that block were also put on a probation at the same time of that, they couldn't DCA and they had to do XYZ, they had to have a safety net. There was other reasons for that. Yes, through that, some people were actually moved out to live. Some people were determined not ready to move to live and were paid out. Others, it was a completely different situation there. Again, none of that happened here. There was no additional rules or probations or anything like that here. It was, I think the email said, business as usual, meaning trade as usual. There's not different trading rules or limitations of which you could trade or not. You just can't add in a ton more. You can add in more simulation when you're going through the process of being moved off of simulation. Focus on doing things right. Focus on trading your PA accounts. Pretty much every company out there is doing the same thing. Once you move into a live, you can't have live and sim. They don't want focus split. And while you're being looked at to move over to live, we don't want this whole other, oh my gosh, I got to run out and buy another 50 evals and then throw that in the mix and get distracted and not focus on PA accounts. Other people said, oh, Apex knew this wouldn't go over well, so they did this and then launched a 90% off sale to smooth it over with people. Okay, well, any of you that have been around a while know it was Memorial Day, and we pretty much always do sales on the holidays. Part of the reason this was done beforehand was literally to not have hundreds of new evals come in at 90% off when we're trying to move off. So it's kind of the opposite there. Speaking of that, we'll see some other announcements and some other specials. I don't know if you have looked at the website today, but
I think we got to give credit where credit is due. Apex, John, one of the Apex co-founders, really now publicly acknowledging that the profitable trader, or the trader that gets payouts from Apex, will be scrutinized moving forward. To his point, is that a profitable trader, true profitable trader, or is that a burn and turn gamified version of a profitable trader? And Apex will have to make decisions on that. Is that gamification going to be allowed? We don't know. And Apex is going to have to make some decision how much of that gamification is going to be allowed, since in general it's been allowed in the past. Whatever the path they do take, we now know, and it's pretty much being publicly shared, Apex will be monitoring traders that get payouts. They're going to make decisions, live funded, continue on sim, or you're out. That's going to be a long-term sustainability play for Apex and other prop firms. I think it's important to clarify, and he's mentioned this, every other prop firm is going through the same thing. I said it in my last video. Every prop firm right now is scrambling to control or limit their payout risk. I've said it now in multiple videos. This is the perfect time to diversify with different prop firms. I do not think you should be looking at maximizing the number of accounts with each prop firm. I've even changed that mentality. Last year, I took payouts on 20 accounts multiple times. That was very great income. This year, I'm probably going to limit that to maybe 1 to 5, definitely not 20 accounts. Why? Why do I want to be on the radar? Same thing with other accounts. If I truly want 20 plus accounts, there are enough prop firms, futures prop firms out there where I can get 1, 2, maybe 3 accounts with a few of them and build that way, stay under the radar, and continue to build prop firm payouts that way. I think the long-term goal for anybody trading futures prop firms, if you really want to look at this as your path moving forward or a long-term, build your live funded account, your personal live funded account, through the payouts that you get through prop firms. All right, guys, I think John Skelton and the Apex team do deserve some credit for acknowledging the truth. Getting consistent payouts forever from the sim trading phase is simply not sustainable for Apex or any other prop firm. Now, as John mentioned, I think the challenge for Apex is going to be defining what a profitable trader looks like. How much burn and turn is too much? Where's the line? And although I trade with Apex and I'm an affiliate, the messaging so far on this has been inconsistent. We've been here before, remember last year, and even John mentioned in this video, they failed to deliver on something similar last year. We can only hope that this time it's different. Because here's the thing, we all want Apex trader funding to win. We want this payout machine that's called Apex to build trust with their traders and give them a way to scale up. But time will tell if this is truly a shift or if it's just history repeating itself. Either way, this won't be the last time a prop firm changes the rules. That's why it's so important to stay diversified with multiple props. You don't have to be married to one firm. Trade where the rules work for you. If you just got that email about being on probation or the testing phase and can't buy evals during that time, just relax, just breathe. Go through the process and let it play out. And finally, for those of you that are still in the eval phase and haven't gotten to a payout, you're the luckiest ones in all this. Apex is not going to limit how many evals you can buy. You can buy 20 of them. You can blow all 20 of them. They're not going to limit the contract size. You can full port and learn the hard way how quickly you're going to blow through accounts doing that, and Apex will love you. But remember, once you do reach the payout stage, Apex will limit the leverage if you haven't built a system. So take the time to build a true trading strategy or know that you may be phased out in the future. That's all I got for today. I hope this video gave you some clarity and helped you stay informed. If you're enjoying this type of content, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and more importantly, hit that notification bell so that you get notified when I post content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.